Welcome back. We want to look further into the report on avoidable deaths in New Brunswick that we talked about a little earlier. Stephane Robichaud is Chief Executive Officer of the New Brunswick Health Council, and he joins us from Moncton. Nice to see you.
Thank you for having me.
A very simple question off the top. What is the definition of an avoidable death for your study?
There's two parts. Absolutely. There's two parts to this report. The first part is about what's called premature deaths. Premature deaths is something that's being measured since the 90s. They've established sort of 75 years of age as a baseline, and they look at all deaths that occur before the age of 75. Now, two big categories. Some of these deaths are deemed to be unavoidable, but of those that are deemed to be avoidable, and there's over 80 causes associated to those deaths, there are two categories to those. Those that it's deemed that if we had done a better job from a prevention perspective, we could have avoided the death or extended life. And those where mostly it's about treatment. So timely access to quality treatment could have avoided death or extended life.
We'll drill down on those in a second if we can, but New Brunswick has more avoidable deaths than the rest of Canada. Why are we in this position?
So what we've seen is New Brunswick and Canada have had some improvement over time, but in the area of deaths for treatable causes, we've not improved as much as Canada. Both New Brunswick and Canada were at about a rate of 72 per 100,000 for treatable deaths about 10 years ago or so, and today Canada's at 60%, whereas we're at about 67%. Roughly speaking, about 2/3 of avoidable deaths are associated to preventable causes and about 1/3 to treatable causes.
Okay, let's talk about preventable.
So on preventable causes, if you look at, there's two parts to the report. So we do look at rates in New Brunswick compared to Canada, and we look at rates across New Brunswick. New Brunswick has 7 health zones. Zone 1 being Moncton, Zone 2 St. John. If you go clockwise, there are 7 zones comprising of the major cities. Now, Zone 6, Acadian Peninsula, Bathurst, is actually doing better than the national average, which is quite interesting. We don't have the answers, but they're doing better on both treatable and preventable. And the area of Campbellton, Zone 5, is a much higher rate than the national average on both preventable and treatable. If you look at the causes themselves, there's about 2,000 premature deaths per year in New Brunswick, and about half of those, 50%, are associated to 6 main causes. So lung cancer, heart disease, colorectal cancer, diabetes, stroke, and chronic and pulmonary diseases. So those 6 ones account for about half of the 2,000 deaths per year that are preventable.
We know there's been so much education in the last number of decades, things like lung cancer, diabetes, and the like. Is it that the message isn't getting through? Did we step back from that? Why hasn't there been a marked change in the deaths?
Yes, there can be a wide range of reason. I know I can only speak for myself as to I'm one of those with New Year resolutions, and we don't always follow through. What's important here is of those 6 causes, 5 of those 6, it's about what we associate to lifestyle. So tobacco, heavy drinking, physical activity, diet. So these are important elements. A little good news in the overall picture is that we're doing better on lung cancer because of past efforts around tobacco. But this type of numbers, and considering that the situation can be quite different from one zone to the next, what it does is It's not as much about providing answers than helping in identifying the right questions. So, and just in the preliminary round that we've done before Christmas in validating these numbers with various professionals around the province, it's interesting to see the type of discussions that it does raise. And people do make links between some of those numbers and what they see from a day-to-day practice, for example. So these types of numbers can help us, obviously, to do better when it comes to promoting a positive lifestyle. I'd also add that what we've seen at the council is when we do equip people locally with proper numbers to understand their health trends, New Brunswick communities have proven to be quite resilient in coming up with initiatives that promote, for example, physical activity. Or it can be also elements, and this is not a small element, it can also be things in helping to address barriers for people in getting the right type of support that they need, transportation, for example. So we've seen very positive initiatives across province in the past, and for us it's about adding to that health trend picture, because we know that if we can bring this data more locally, communities tend to respond quite favorably. One last thing I may add on that, because to your question about do we need to do more about promotion, colorectal cancer. I'm part of that age group that does get that test, and many do get that test. What we're finding is when we look at the numbers across the country, Saskatchewan has the highest rate of people having done the test in the last year at 68%. Canada's at about 49%, and New Brunswick is about 35%. That is, following through on that test that they receive. So that's an example of an area that we have to do better as a population, and we probably need to do better at how we promote that, because colorectal cancer is one of those conditions that the earlier we get it, the more success we can have.
And it's a fairly simple test to do, and we all get it. Stephane Robichaud, thank you very much. It's a very valuable report, and we've got a link to it on our website. So if viewers want to check that out, we would encourage they do that. Thank you for your time. It's good to see you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We will take a break. We'll be back with more of your news.